It is. Very good morning. It's 10 minutes to 8. You're listening to 101 FM. We have another one of your friends online. Who have we got?
Well, we'd like to say a big g'day this morning to Cheryl Burns. She's the managing editor of Capital News magazine, and she lives, breathes everything Tamworth Country Music Festival. How are you, Cheryl?
Oh, I'm fantastic, and thanks for having me.
Well, it's really great to talk to you because you can give us a completely different perspective of the Tamworth Country Music Festival and what it's like down there at the moment, and a little bit about its history, because we've been chatting this morning to a lot of artists, recording artists and Golden Guitar nominees and previous winners. But having someone like to you on the program and giving us a little bit of background of the festival is a real pleasure. So fire away. Tell the listeners a little bit about the festival, Cheryl.
Absolutely. Well, this year in particular should have been our 49th Tamworth Country Music Festival. And back in September, my manager, the Country Music Events Manager at Tamworth Regional Council, Barry Harley, had the terrible call to make that the festival was to be cancelled due to the nasty thing that's going around. Unfortunately, no one then was able to promote that there was a festival on. However, the silver lining was that venues were able then, shortly after, venues were able to start having music in their venues. So some of them decided that they would still put some country music on during the usual 10 days of the festival. And it eventually grew because different artists said, well, I'm not missing out. I'm going to go to Tamworth. I'm okay. If they're going to do something, I'm going to be there. So it grew so much that we have about 100 artists performing, where there's usually about 1,000 or a bit more than 1,000 artists in town. There's about 100 artists performing at over 22 venues across Tamworth over the 10 days. It's been incredible.
Wow, that's fantastic. And to think those artists have come, it'd be a bit of an up-close and intimate sort of personal kind of sort of show for them too. It'd be completely different.
It certainly is. Look, a lot of shows in Tamworth, of course, are the sit down and watch and enjoy the music. So that's definitely been how it's been. There's been you have to party in your seat and just sit still in your chairs. So there's a lot of that. Everyone's been so respectful. It's been very COVID-free, but COVID-friendly. No one has to wear masks, but masks are available everywhere you go. The Tamworth Regional Entertainment Centre is a big one where the Golden Guitars are being held tonight, and there's been a few terrific shows in there. Adam Harvey had his 30th anniversary there 2 nights ago, and the Bennett Botel, Urquhart and Butcher were on, and the McClymonts. All their audiences were sitting at big round tables and also in the tiered seating, but they all wore masks, except when you drink and eat, you're allowed to take the mask off. Thank goodness. So it's been very strange, I'm sure, for people standing on the stage looking out to a sea of people in masks. And but everyone's been very happy. The artists are like, why couldn't the festival have gone on? But it's because of what I said.
Yeah.
The fact that it had to be called back in September. Yeah. We weren't able to look after sponsors and all the people and the things that you would normally do, and it was just too difficult to organise. So the outcome has been very, very good, and let's hope in 4 weeks' time, when we look back and we're COVID-free, we can say, well, Tamworth continues to lead the way. We've done a good job. We know how to do this.
Yeah, and maybe it'll be the catalyst for a lot of other big events and country music festivals that have been put on ice or on hold the last 12 months or so. But hey, Cheryl, tell us what's some of your earliest memories of the festival, because you've been a part of it for many years.
Oh, absolutely, Tanya. Thanks for asking. Well, my father was a man called Jeff Brown. He was known at his stage. He was always introduced as Gentleman Jeff Brown. That was what was written on his records. And Dad actually started singing here in Tamworth, born and bred. He started singing when he was about 14 years old. He won a talent quest at around about 20, and it was called the Buddy Bishop Cup. He's got a cup. It's not even as big as your hand. That's how big it is. Yeah. But he won this talent quest, and Buddy Bishop came over to Tamworth from Taree, and he was the first recording artist to actually record here in Tamworth. And then Dad recorded. Dad had the first travelling show band. He was involved in the Capital Country Music Association. We had a huge club here in Tamworth, and it was formed out of the Modern Country Music Association, that was based up in Queensland. So they emulated that. The very first concert that was held in Tamworth was at the Tamworth Town Hall in 1967, and it was raising money for the bushfires in Tasmania at the time. We're never out of the woods, are we? We've all got bushfires, droughts, whatever.
Floods, yep.
And 2 busloads of people came down from Queensland. So there's always been a fantastic fan base from Queensland coming down here, and it's just grown and grown and grown, as you know, over the 49 years. And that concert had something like 70 artists performing on it.
Wow.
There's always been shows where everyone loves to be a part of it. At our home, we always had music there, like you do at your home. We had visitors like, I'm talking back in the 70s, John Williamson. I was 10 years old when he came to our house. He sat in our lounge room, and John Minson brought him to our home, and I remember him sitting there just watching our television, and I thought, oh, you don't talk much, Mr. Williamson, do you?
But he can write a darn good song.
He can write a very good song, and I've since learned a whole lot more about him. My brother was a guitar player, Tanya, and when he was 16 years old, he recorded the bass guitar on Slim Newton's Redback on the Toilet Seat. So that was
we played that song earlier today.
Yeah, oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, Slim's actually in a nursing home down Newcastle Way. He's still with us, which is lovely to know.
Gee, I remember touring.
Extraordinary.
I remember touring back in 1978. We were part of the Rick and Thel Carey touring show, and Dad was singing on stage each night, and Slim Newton was on the bill as well, and he had this old Dodge truck, and he was the funniest character, and the people just loved him, and he always had an issue with, it was a problem, whether it was not finding a big enough tree to be able to go behind it, to out in the roads to relieve himself, all sorts of things, or complaining about the salt bush going across the road or the corrugation. But a true legend of Australian country music, and what an icon.
He really is, and yes, actually, Dad recorded a song of his called "It Shouldn't Happen to a Dog." So he's always got comedy songs.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And of course, his son Steve Newton lives here in Tamworth and runs what used to be Hadley Records, now that Eric Scott owned,
yep.
and that studio is now called Enric Studios, and that comes from Eric Newton, who's Slim's other son,
yep.
who tragically passed away many years ago, back in the 80s, with Glenn Green. They were on the way home from a gig not far from Tamworth, and sadly killed by another driver. So there's been a lot of tragedy in country music, of course, but some amazing things that have happened. I just remember just loving everything about people coming to our home, the joy of the music. I'm not a singer. Well, I had a folk group in high school, but I'm not like you sitting around performing with your family, but my family did sit around performing with each other.
Yeah.
We grew up with Phil and Tommy Emmanuel. They would stay at our home when the three, actually my brother, Phil and Tommy in their teens, were in the top 10 guitarists in Australia. When Buck Owens came to town, Gary, my brother, was only 21, and he and my dad's band played at the Tamworth Airport to welcome Buck Owens and the Buckaroos to town.
Wow.
And Don Rich and Buck Owens just stood in front of my brother. There's a lovely photo that shows them standing there listening to Gary play, I believe, Buck's polka. I think it may have been something else. But anyway, we've been very fortunate to have a wonderful life. I started at a radio station in 1979, and they were organising the festival. Max Ellis gave me my first job, and of course Max is the founder of the actual festival. So I've been very fortunate, I believe.
You certainly have, Cheryl. It's been wonderful to have you chat with us today and take the time out from, I know it's quite unusual, but it's still a busy time for you down in Tamworth at the moment during the festival.
Yeah, we've got about 30 seconds till news, Cheryl. I think you and I are going to chat more often on the on the Saturday Country program, because a wealth of knowledge and information, and you're up to date with everything that's happening. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity to chat with you today. I'm glad Tanya phoned you.
Oh, thank you.
And it's a magical thing we're doing. It's great to have her in the studio. So it was. We're focusing on the Country Music Festival. You take care, and again, thank you very much for the opportunity to chat with you today.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Tanya.
See you.